Hi, everyone. I'm so glad that you were able to tune into my session, Social Media 101, today. My name is Emily Tolliver, and I am the manager of social communities and content at Best Friends Animal Society. I've worked at Best Friends for a little over 4 years now, and I've worked in social media and animal welfare for over a decade. Today, in addition to covering some social media basics, I will share some tips and tricks that you will be able to immediately put into action at home. Since I have just 25 minutes, I'm going to drill down into what I consider to be the most need to know information in hopes that you will be able to leave my session today knowing how to create great content that will reach more people than ever before, and all with very little effort on your part. We will cover what platforms to be on in 2021, how to have an authentic presence that encourages your supporters to become donors, and how to handle your social channels in times of crisis. As an added bonus, we'll talk about what TikTok even is anyway and why you should care. Are you ready to get started? Me too. So first things first, before we can even start thinking about what we want to post, we have to get organized. And the first part of getting organized is creating a content calendar. Your content calendar is the foundation for everything that you're going to put on social, so make sure it's a really strong one. Your content calendar is going to allow you to zoom out and see all of your content. Think your campaigns, which adoptable animals you featured this week, which sponsors you've thanked, all at once. It'll act as a safeguard to make sure that you don't publish redundant content, and it'll allow you the ability to quickly glance back to see how you handled a particular campaign, say last year. Once you can plot out your content and prioritize, you'll be ready to choose a scheduling tool. Facebook has its own internal scheduling tools, which can be powerful enough and they're free of charge. But if you're able to allocate a little bit of budget, there are tools like Hootsuite, Sprout Social, and Later that all offer low-cost options, which can help you keep everything all in one place. These softwares often include access to more comprehensive analytics or other beneficial tools as well, like hashtag suggestions. After your content calendar and your scheduling tools are all set up and ready to go, it's time to create a response document where you're going to keep all of your frequently asked questions. Everything from your most basic questions to extremely sensitive crisis communications that you want to save for later. So, for example, in our response document at Best Friends, we keep everything from educational pit bull related responses to respond to anti-pit bull rhetoric to answers to our most common questions, like how do I adopt from the sanctuary? Okay, so you've got your content calendar and those scheduling tools and your basic FAQ all ready to go. So now you're ready to start looking at the channels themselves. And wow, there's a lot to choose from. There's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest. The list goes on and on and on, and it can be really overwhelming. And if you're already wearing a million hats, like most of us in animal welfare are, you may not even know where to begin. So if you have to pick any one social media platform, Facebook is still the bread and butter of the nonprofit world. It's still the number one site with the most users, and Facebook offers a comprehensive fundraising suite. The ease of gathering that much needed revenue in platform just can't be overlooked. Facebook is the absolute must have, even if your audience is predominantly on other channels. Having a Facebook page legitimizes your business and is as important as having a web page. Where you go from there, however, is a little bit more custom tailored to you, your staffing capabilities, and your organization. There are a lot of critical questions that you're going to want to ask yourself, like, do your donors tend to be older and more established? Do they tend to be younger and more socially engaged? Who are you trying to reach, and what are you trying to accomplish? It's also important that you put quality over quantity on social media. Don't take on any more than you can reasonably handle. If you can't provide a quality experience for your supporters on a given channel, then you shouldn't be on it. So if you don't know how to edit videos and you're not really interested or you don't have the time to invest in figuring out how to do it, it's probably a good idea that you avoid YouTube. Now, that said, in the animal welfare world, you're most likely to find the most value in Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok in that order. As I already mentioned, Facebook has the most comprehensive in-platform donation tools and is the most established of all of the channels. When it comes to Instagram, you're actually going to find that you'll have a higher engagement rate on Instagram. And that's largely because marketers have been slower or more resistant to jump on the platform. But as time goes on, it's getting more and more crowded. And that means that posts are going to start reaching less and less people. So, in addition to being a highly visual platform that's going to allow you to showcase the best photos that you have of the animals in your care, Instagram now offers the donate button and the ability to host fundraisers as well. And because Instagram is Facebook's response to a multitude of competing platforms, think Instagram stories, there's a response to Snapchat, Reels are a response to TikTok. Having a presence on Instagram is going to allow you to engage with your supporters in a multitude of ways. You might be a little bit surprised to see that TikTok is listed in my top 3 above established channels like Twitter or LinkedIn. TikTok is most certainly the newcomer and definitely has a long way to go, a lot left to learn and a lot left to grow. But as we'll talk about later, a presence in the channel's early days means that you get to take advantage of the lack of competition on the platform. In other words, the early birds are getting all of the worms. So as we start to talk about our presence on Facebook, I think it's important to take a step back and consider that as we approach Facebook with an armload of things that we want to do and that we want to get done, Facebook does not exactly exist to serve us, the business. Facebook is about the user. And as marketers, it can be easy to lose sight of what social media is really about, and that's relationships. Our supporters are, generally, not coming to our pages to see what's up and what's new. They're actually engaging with us in their newsfeed. And because of this, we, as animal welfare organizations that are trying to get our animals adopted and raise money for the ones that are waiting at our door, we're competing with everything from Forever 21 ads to political memes to photos of what Aunt Karen had for lunch on Monday. In order to have our content determined as what is most interesting to Facebook's algorithm, and therefore what should appear in our followers' feeds, we have to pivot to delivering content that the user wants to see and not necessarily just what we want them to see. So if we're only delivering content that asks our followers for something, we aren't going to reach very many people. And when I say asks, I'm referring to posts like, come to our event, adopt this cat, donate money, or volunteer your time. Your followers are already being asked for that exact same thing, their attention, by a million other people and causes. So you have to make sure that you are providing content that adds value to their day and to their lives. We are so lucky to be marketing content that people already want to see. Animals in all their perfectly quirky and delightful ways. So let's make sure that we are delivering on that promise. So again, as you think about the kind of presence that you want to have on Facebook, focus on what you can do for your supporters rather than what they can do for you. For instance, how many times have you heard someone say some version of, I wish I could just quit my job and work with the animals all day? I think most of us hear something along those lines pretty regularly. This is your chance to deliver that experience in your content. Show your followers the joys of working in animal welfare and being around the animals. Bring them into the fold. Many of our top posts for the year at Best Friends don't actually ask our followers to do anything. They're simply just sweet touch points that are made to brighten our followers' day. Like this video of a caregiver that's being absolutely smothered in puppy kisses. I mean, what is better than that? This video is a behind the scenes look at what's happening at Best Friends, and that's a content win-win. It showcases that the animals in our care are our top priority, that they're happy, they're healthy, and they're thriving. And at the same time, it engages our followers with that behind the scenes look at what it's like to work with the animals. It's a win-win. So in addition to showcasing these cute behind the scenes moments, make sure that you're really showcasing the scope of your organization's work. Think about your mission and your initiatives and make sure that you are telling your followers that story. Did you take in an injured cat, provide it with medical care, find it a loving foster home, and then an equally wonderful forever home like Paws of Central Texas? Tell that story. Did you start up a barn cat program to save the lives of incoming feral cats like Big Sky Ranch in LA? Tell that story. And as you're creating this content, make sure that you are showing and not just telling. Talk about your barn cat program through the eyes of a single barn cat. Help your supporters relate to an individual animal's journey and build that authentic connection. Try to avoid being blunt about what you're trying to accomplish. If you want to thank a local business for donating to help your cat initiatives, rather than posting a check presentation, which is not very interesting to your followers, tell them about a cat that was impacted by that donation. By making the story about the cat, which is what your supporters are interested in, rather than about the sponsor, who you still need to provide that recognition, you're packaging the story in a way that's going to work best for the channel. So once you've built those relationships and demonstrated to your followers that they are not only that you are not only doing great work, but that you are an organization that can be trusted with their money, your supporters will be primed to listen and respond when you need them most. So because our followers know who we are and what we do, and because they know that they can trust us, when Hurricane Harvey struck Texas and Best Friends deployed, our very first Facebook Live highlighting our work in the area raised over $100,000. And when Lexington Humane Society's air conditioners went out in the middle of summer, they raised nearly $40,000 in just one day. Again, because the community knew that they could trust Lexington Humane, they stepped up to help in their time of need. Okay, now this is the big one. This is what I like to consider the secret sauce to a successful presence on social media. And the professional photographer in me, and likely in many of you, feels like this is completely backwards. But user-generated content, as in the photos that people like your supporters, your donors, just regular old people are capturing on their phones in all that gritty, out of focus, pixelated, improperly lit glory. User-generated content is 85% more influential to web users than brand content. And when you start to think about it, it actually makes a whole lot of sense. People don't trust businesses, they trust other people. In fact, only about 16% of Americans trust company information. So think about it like this. Say it's time for you to go buy a brand new vacuum cleaner. When you're on Amazon and you've picked out what you want, it's the right color, it has all the right features, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to scroll down because you want to see the reviews. You want to read reviews from real people who spent their real money. You want to see real photos because that is how you know that that is a quality product. So the good news is you don't need a fancy camera to produce great content or engage your users. In fact, the opposite is actually true. So where do you find this good user-generated content? Thankfully, it's actually pretty darn easy. Try just reaching out to your animal care staff or to some of your volunteers. I guarantee you they have some absolutely hysterical content on their phones. Facebook groups are also a wonderful option. Groups not only allow your supporters to talk with one another and share insider content, they deepen your connections and your relationships with no extra effort required on your part. Create a volunteer Facebook group if you don't already have one, or maybe just one for your foster parent volunteers. As they fill those groups with their photos and their stories, request their permission to share that on your channels. And if you're thinking, oh my gosh, not another social property that I have to manage, consider actually empowering your volunteers to run those groups for you. By making them a champion for your cause, you can get access to content that performs really well without having to do any additional work. Release that control and watch the conversation start to flow. So you've got great content, but now how do you tell if that content is actually performing? Engagement is the gold standard of measuring the effectiveness of your social posts. And taking the time to engage with the people who engage with you builds trust and it builds your brand. So at Best Friends, we strive to respond to every single comment and direct message, even if it's just to say, hey, thanks for taking the time to come by and say hello. And Forgotten Dogs Rescue in Washington did the same thing. So FDR is a foster home-based nonprofit located in Washington state, and by engaging in authentic connections through Instagram, they helped to grow their follower base from 4,000 to 13,000, which is a 225% increase over just 2 years. Their strategies included responding to every single comment and message, including shout-outs, and that really paid off. So remember that fact that I mentioned earlier, those frequently asked questions? This is where you're going to put that to use. Your FAQ is going to save you a ton of time in responding to comments, direct messages, and questions as you work to respond to as many of your supporters as you possibly can. As a business on Instagram too, you can take that one step further and save a ton of time by using quick replies, which are an in-app shortcut to save you from having to manually type out your responses with your thumbs each and every time. Now, I realize as we start to talk about the comment section that many of you guys are going to start to feel a little bit like this. And believe me, anyone working in social media understands. It just so happens that folks in animal welfare tend to have some pretty strong opinions about the work we're doing and how we do it. So this can leave you feeling a little bit defensive, especially when those followers are being aggressive. So here's how to handle aggressive people. If anyone is using vulgar language, attacking your staff by name, or other individuals even within the comment section, go ahead and hide or delete those comments. Your first priority needs to be to get that bad attitude off of your page. Now, if someone has a legitimate concern and you just prefer to not address it in the public eye, encourage them to continue that conversation in a private message. But if they're just arguing with you and you're not making any headway, you need to just let it go. Hide their most recent comment so that publicly it looks like you have the last word, and then move on. Don't waste your time coming back over and over again if you're not going to be able to have an impact or to change their minds. I highly recommend hiding or deleting comments and only banning users as in last resort. It's important to remember that banning a user or even just deleting their comments can make tough matters much worse. So reserve those bans for the most egregious or offensive behavior. And remember that negative comments, they might be tricky, but they offer us a chance to address concerns, educate the public, answer questions, and to be transparent. All right, so let's shift gears and talk about Instagram. Once you've established a regular posting cadence and are regularly interacting with your supporters on Facebook, you can expand into other channels like Instagram. Instagram has 10 times more engagement than Facebook, 54 times more engagement than Pinterest, and 84 times more engagement than Twitter. Some organizations are taking advantage of this space and younger audiences on Instagram as well. So when Hearts and Bones Rescue in New York City started up in 2017, they actually launched their Facebook and Instagram pages at the same time. And from the beginning, they found that Instagram was actually growing a lot faster. They identified that they wanted to target a younger audience around ages 25 to 40. And knowing that people in that demographic were starting to kind of move away from Facebook anyway, they made Instagram their primary focus for storytelling and featuring adoptable dogs. Hearts and Bones actually had so much success by following the suggestions that we've already outlined in this presentation, by focusing on storytelling and not just becoming another big flood of asks like, again, adopt this dog, or we need foster parents, or please donate. Hearts and Bones has grown their following to an astonishing 52,000 followers with a soaring engagement rate. Hearts and Bones stewards their audience frequently by showing them the whole story of what it's like to be a dog in their care. They post behind the scenes videos of staff meeting the dogs in Texas shelters and then continue following the dogs through their transport to New York City, going into a foster home, and even meeting their adopters for the first time. And when they're able, they even keep continuing that story into those dogs' forever homes. So Instagram is a platform that is in multiple parts, but the most important two aspects for you to focus on right now are your feed and your stories. It's important to think about Instagram stories as a different platform from your Instagram newsfeed and create unique content strategies for each, keeping in mind that some people are only going to engage with you in one place, not both. So it's important to post in both spaces regularly. What's the difference? Well, your feed is evergreen. The content lives on and on forever. And because of that, it's a more curated feed for your official brand. Multi-image posts, also known as carousels, will draw more engagement than a single image. And if you can post a video, post a video. Video is king across all social channels, particularly if it's that good old user-generated content. Stories, on the other hand, disappear after just 24 hours and give you the space to be a little bit more fun, off the cuff, and in the moment. And because you can post multiple stories at once, you'll want to think about what is driving people to engage with your stories from the starting slide all the way to the finish. Make sure that you're tying in your branding, like the colors, for example. Obviously, Best Friends uses orange and white. Add interactive elements like stickers, polls, questions, and more. And use that curiosity marketing to drive people forward within your slides. As you see here, we took Denali's story and broke it up into several slides, using that curiosity marketing to urge our followers to open the next slide. The first slide says, a kitten is stuck inside this car. And immediately we think, oh no, I hope the kitten is okay. So we go to the next slide to be sure, and so on and so forth until we get to that happy conclusion. Denali is doing great today. All right, here it is. It's time to talk about TikTok, that teeny bopper platform that kids use to share trendy dance videos with their friends. You're probably thinking something along the lines of, I'm too old for TikTok, regardless of how old you actually are. If you're over the age of 17, TikTok might feel like a daunting platform that you just don't understand. But the idea that anyone is too old for TikTok is just flat out wrong. TikTok went viral during the pandemic, and while dancing on the app is certainly popular, it's about so much more than that. TikTok is heavily invested in philanthropy and education, and the platform is defining the way today's youth interact not only on their social channels but with each other. TikTok is no longer just for users either, and marketers are quickly getting wise to the incredible viral ability and sales capabilities of the platform. That's why major companies and brands like Chipotle are heavily investing in the platform. So, what is TikTok? TikTok is a social media app that is entirely based around short form videos. And when I say short form, I mean really short. TikTok videos have a maximum length of 1 minute, and most videos are around 10 to 15 seconds. The app requires full screen vertical videos, and these videos launch the moment you start up the app. So don't attempt to log into TikTok during a meeting, or everyone's going to know what you're up to. TikTok is a trend based, meaning that nearly all of the clips on the platform are built on audio clips that are available for public use. TikTok relies heavily on user generated content, and because it's mobile first, there's once again no need for any kind of expensive camera equipment. The average TikTok user opens the app in an incredible 8 times per day, and the app is sticky, which means that users tend to stay on the platform longer during each session than any other social media channel, with the exception of YouTube. And that adds up to more than 45 minutes per day. And if that wasn't enough, TikTok is reaching users who aren't even active on other social sites. For example, 49% of TikTok users aren't even on Instagram. So remember how I said that the early birds are getting the worms? Let's take a look at Paw's Shelter of Central Texas, a small no-kill rescue that takes in approximately 1,700 animals per year. Paw's has just over 20,000 followers on Facebook and a little over 3,000 followers on Instagram, but they have an explosive TikTok following, over 80,000 followers since they joined TikTok just in February of 2020. And because TikTok is focused on philanthropic efforts, they have already launched those donation capabilities within their platform. And in fact, since TikTok launched their donate button in September of last year, Best Friends has already raised $40,000 on the platform through the donate button. So not only is the early bird getting all of the followers, but the early birds are actually getting access to all of that additional donation revenue as well. So where do you start? The app is so open-ended that it can feel pretty intimidating to even know where to begin. So first, I recommend just going ahead and getting an account and spending some time on the platform. Scroll through the videos and see what resonates with you and what doesn't. Likely, you're going to stumble upon a trend or two where multiple creators are creating content to one theme. So for example, one recent trend that was relevant to all of us in animal welfare was this trend: show me your pet is clingy without actually saying that your pet is clingy. You can see in the original video on the left, and then you can see in the middle slide that this sound was actually used nearly 10,000 times. The video on the right is an example of a creator jumping in on this trend, and that's where you come in. Have an office dog that sits on your shoulder all day while you work, or maybe you've got a super climber, a dog that can scale the kennels and escape. Those videos wouldn't take you too much time to put together, and they'll help you reach a new audience and bring more people to your organization that you wouldn't have reached otherwise. Okay, so that was a lot that we covered in a very small span of time. You might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. So many new ideas for Facebook and Instagram. And now here I am telling you that you have to download TikTok too. I get it. So here's 3 things that you can do today to improve the quality of your presence on social media. Go ahead and number 1, ask your staff to send you their favorite photo that they have taken of an animal in your care. It's okay if it's old. It's okay if that animal has already been adopted. Share it on Facebook or Instagram with a funny caption. Number 2, download TikTok and just start scrolling. It's only going to take you a few minutes, and honestly, the best way to learn the platform is to use it. And number 3, if you haven't already, look up and join the Animal Shelter social media group on Facebook. It's full of social media managers from our industry, and it's a must for networking, getting feedback, or questions. So that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today.